What's going on, everybody? Sam Dog, the Infamous 253, coming at you guys with a video of some sad news that I just heard about that happened last night on Easter. Just heard about it this morning through my buddy Michael. He texted me. Former Minnesota Viking, former Seattle Seahawk backup quarterback who backed up Russell Wilson, and one time a starter in 2011 Tarvaris Jackson. Tarvaris Jackson has died in a car crash last night in his home in Alabama. Super Bowl 48 champion as Russell Wilson's backup. Was a one-time starter for us in 2011, which I gotta say, even though it really wasn't the best season for that, he did play through rib injuries. I remember him playing through rib injuries throughout that 2011 season, even though it was the first season in the Pete Carroll era that we didn't make the playoffs. But he toughed it out, played through that injury, and just gave it his all. It's sad to hear about news like this. It's sad. When anyone dies, it's sad. We just can never ever take life for granted because we don't know when our last day on earth will be. And I only met Tarvaris Jackson one time. The one time I met Tarvaris Jackson was actually during the first time when he came back to Seattle for 2013. And it was crazy. We're coming off of our first year at Russell Wilson. I remember when Tarvaris was in Buffalo, and I'll bring up when I first met Tarvaris a little later on. And I hear we bring back Tarvaris, and wasn't so sure about how that'd go out because I know we also had Brady Quinn also competing to be the backup quarterback. And I remember just how the preseason game in San Diego, I remember during the preseason, I remember Brady Quinn wasn't doing that good, and then T-Jack came on the field, and he just started lighting it up, throwing dimes, threw a couple of touchdown passes. I remember immediately when he threw one of those dime passes, I immediately was like, that's our backup quarterback. And then also, during that 2011 season, I think one of the best games I think I ever saw T-Jack play as a starter was that game against the Philadelphia Eagles in 2011, which ended up being the game, even though when Michael Vick was injured. But this was basically the game that started our decade-long dominance over the Philadelphia Eagles. And this was in 2011. Him and Marshawn Lynch killed that game in 2011. And then T-Jack threw a touchdown pass to Golden Tate in that same game too. And then later on, 2013, when he came back, and like I mentioned, when I was like, that's our backup quarterback, I remember we were kicking the crap out of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then Russell Wilson just checked out and Tarvaris Jackson played in, and I remember this dime pass he threw to Doug Baldwin for a touchdown in that game where we blew out the Jags during the Super Bowl year, and then he even ran a touchdown in too, which was pretty cool to watch him. And the crazy part about that one was we hadn't had a quarterback touchdown run in the season yet, and T-Jack, our backup quarterback, was the first one to score on a quarterback keep before Russell Wilson scored in our comeback from being down 21-0 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that season. And then later on in Week 17, during the autograph session, during the usual, pumping up the boys that I do, I actually finally got to meet T-Jack by the tunnel. He actually came over. I think him and Sidney Rice is somewhere. I got an autograph on my ticket from that game too. And so I talked with T-Jack, and I remember just talking about how he toughed out that 2011 season. I said, hey, man, thank you for playing through those broken ribs. I know you played through broken ribs and that too. And then saying how we were happy to have him back here as our backup. And then I told him, and then I said, hopefully, this year, hopefully we can put that ring around hopefully end it by putting a ring around your finger. And then this was before the game against the then St. Louis Rams that we won to clinch home field advantage in the playoffs. And then obviously we beat the Saints, and then we go to Super Bowl 48 and basically, which was the greatest night of my life, and we were just blowing them out. And I remember I was in Renton during that Super Bowl. And I know we had the game once, and I was talking to my buddy Jeremy at his viewing party. I was like, hey, Jeremy, I know we got, why not put Tarvaris Jackson in the Super Bowl? Let's put Tarvaris Jackson in the Super Bowl. Get him some play time and some snaps. It'd be cool to see T-Jack play in the Super Bowl. And I was like, he toughed out that 2011 season playing through broken ribs. He deserves to get a chance to play in the Super Bowl. And granted, we already had the game won. And then later on, it ended up happening. I remember hearing either Joe Buck or Troy Aikman saying, Russell Wilson has checked out of the game. Tarvaris Jackson in, and they were like, what a nice gesture by the Seahawks organization to put Tarvaris Jackson in the game, because he'd been working hard too. And I thought that was pretty awesome to get to see Tarvaris Jackson take some snaps and play in Super Bowl 48, and we ended up getting him that Super Bowl ring. And I gotta say, I'm happy for the fact that we were at least able to make him a Super Bowl champion, even as our backup. And then he even turned out to be a hell of a coin toss caller too for us too. If you remember, when some of those games went to overtime, we would send Tarvaris Jackson out for the coin toss, and he would win the coin toss, and he won the most important coin toss of the following season in the NFC Championship game in the miracle which would basically solidify our miracle comeback against the Packers too. So yeah, I'll always remember him for those moments. But thank you, Tarvaris Jackson, for your contributions, for contributing to this team. It's just sad that, I don't know how he lost control of his car. I don't know if it was depression, or we don't know if it was depression where he drank and drive. I hope it wasn't that, but it's sad, Just sad to hear about his tragic passing last night, and we're gonna miss you, T-Jack. Just sad time, and appreciate all you did for the Seahawks. Give me your thoughts in the comments down below. Put an RIP, but guys, never ever take life for granted, because we don't know how much more time we have left on this earth, and we just got to be thankful and appreciative for the time we had. Rest in peace, Tarvaris Jackson. If you ain't with it, you ain't infamous, and as always, go Seahawks. RIP, T-Jack.